Hey guys, let's stop making videos without gimbals, okay? Please? Okay, so let's talk about gimbals. And I know when we first started, I did a lot of research online to try to figure out which gimbal was the best for mountain biking, and I didn't really find too much information. So it was kind of trial by error. Hey fish, you doing good? Mommy loves you. Yes. So I'm gonna show you 3 of the gimbals that we actually have used for the last year, and we're going to mention another one that we chose not to use and tell you why. The first gimbal we chose to use was the Feiyutech W3, and the second gimbal that we chose to use was the Vecon, I think that's how you say it, Rider M, and then the gimbal that we actually use now all the time is the Evo SS. Another gimbal that we don't have here but we want to make mention of is the GoPro Karma Grip. And the reason I want to mention that is because I know that some of you guys already are using the Karma Grip, and it's been a good option for you. But when it first came out in 2016 with the drone, we were super excited to get the drone package with the grip, and as everybody knows, they started falling out of the sky. We actually chose to just scrap the whole Karma idea and move on because we needed a gimbal right away. We had actually already shot a year of footage that was partially edited, and we wanted to kind of get ahead of ourselves with the channel, and that didn't happen because it wasn't gimbal stabilized. So we are choosing not to use that footage, and if it's important enough, and some of it is, we're actually reshooting it with the gimbals this year and next year. So unfortunately, some of those trips required a plane ticket to go out to, but it'll be good to go back to some of that. So if you guys are interested in the Karma, I would suggest that you go to a channel called iPhone, and this guy is hilarious. His review on the Karma, which includes the grip as well, is 27 minutes long, but he's seriously hilarious, and love watching it. So I'm going to leave the link to his channel and that video in the description of this one. We're going to run this video in order of ownership, which, not surprisingly, Fishy? Fishy! Fishy? 1 second. This is Fishy. She's our baby. Alright. When we started out with the Feiyutech, it was the first gimbal that we had tried, and honestly, I loved it. I totally was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, for the first 15 minutes of the ride when the gimbal worked. And then after that, it was super flaky. It would just like lose itself, and then you'd have to reset it, turn it off, turn it on, all that stuff. Of course, we crash with these things on, and they're not super durable. I guess that's probably going to come with time. And also you have to make sure you have it on your chest the right way to protect the gimbal, which we also learned. The Feiyutech really couldn't take any type of roughness at all. So if you were going over a bump or something and you accidentally hit it a little bit on your arm or on the bar, a real light tap would send it into a death roll. So actually it pretty much died like right away. So I'm going to put a link in the description of the video of the actual trail that we were on when it died, and you can see what happens in the video. Just that it just eventually just like stops, which was insanity because we only had one. And so we ended up going online and troubleshooting that, and a lot of people were having the same problem. Some people said to take the gimbal apart and look at the wire chassis inside, which can get twisted up in there. So ours wasn't twisted, everything was connected. It pretty much just wasn't working. So luckily they took it back. We did buy it through Amazon, so I think that's part of the reason why they did take it back instead of saying that they had to fix it for us. And we were able to get our money back, which was super helpful. The next gimbal that we decided to get was the Rider M. And I think this gimbal actually is one that Seth uses in Seth's Bike Hacks. If you're on this channel, you probably are already familiar with Seth. I actually still use this this gimbal. It goes on my back of my camelback, so I can video Shannon from behind while we're riding. which is kind of cool, but it really can't, it also can't, it doesn't keep track as well as the Evo SS. So I'm going to show you now, literally when you open these boxes, these gimbals look the same. Here's what you're going to get when you open the box. So with all of these gimbals, you get a manual, paper manual, a warranty card, and some contact us. I forget what these are called. QR codes. You get those. It comes with 2 battery packs. Well, actually, 1 battery charger and then 2 packs of batteries. So these batteries are actually pretty awesome. They outlast the battery on the GoPro almost double time. So you can go through 2 batteries on the GoPro and still not have to change these batteries, which is pretty sweet. I'm noticing while I'm filming this, you can see the scar on my wrist. I actually am doing these videos now just because I can't really ride. I am recovering from carpal tunnel surgery and I can't really hold on to anything yet. So to continue, you also get a handheld extension pole. She hears crunchies. She thinks it's treats, but it's not. Anyways, still can't use my hands that well, but it goes out like this. You put the gimbal on here. It comes also with a mount for the GoPro, which is actually on the camera itself. It comes with these wires that will plug into the side of the gimbal and then into the side of the camera, the GoPro, and then into the other side of the gimbal. And this uses the battery charge because the battery is so strong on the gimbal and not so much on the GoPro. And I have tried to use these and I find it annoying. This gets twisted for me and it's a pain in the butt, so I just I leave them in the box. And then you have a charging cord for when you need to charge these batteries. Do another video soon on the charging station that I built. So here's the cord, and also comes with kind of this useless bag because, and I think Fishy will agree, there's really nothing you can do with this. Doesn't protect anything at all. So I got myself a CamKicks foam container and I just use that for my gimbals, but this has a little bit of padding in it and pockets if you need it, but I never use this either. So then we'll show you the current situation with the Rider M. So here's the gimbal itself. It has these little gold screws on here to keep the battery compartment on, which you have to change when you're in the woods. So tell me how that goes. You lose them. So that's why I use electrical tape, and I don't worry about those screws. It's also easier and quicker. And this is what I was actually wondering about when I first got my first gimbal. What attaches it to the GoPro? So it's this right here. So this just screws into the bottom of the gimbal itself, and then this little part here obviously attaches to your GoPro mounts, and that works pretty well. This side here is for that charging cord for charging the GoPro, which I never use. And then you'll see that the Rider M has 2 buttons, one on the top and one on the side, and they both do different things. So one turns it on and the other one orients, and it calibrates when you turn it on. So I will talk a little bit as well about how to put this on yourself and what happens when, well, I'll just turn it on now. So when you turn it on, this little blue light starts to flash, and that's how you know it's on. It doesn't really make any sounds that are helpful when you're riding, as far as I'm concerned. And then when you want it to orient or calibrate, turn it on, and it does that. So all of these gimbals that we're talking about today have a 3-axis system. So that means that it does the pan and it does the tilt, and then you also have a roll. So those are the 3 axes that it rotates on, and it keeps your camera stable. Now also, something that you can do on the Evo SS, because I'm going to forget to mention it, is you can lock axes. So you can actually lock them out. So another thing that you're going to wonder when you get this is, well, how do I change the angle? So all you do is do it with your hand. Now I felt the motor give way. See? So this is so typical of this freaking gimbal. It makes me insane. So the Rider M, I mean, the whole point of it is you have to be able to do that. That's how you set the angle, right? But it just freaks out. So, you know, it just went dead. And you know, when you're riding and stuff, that's a huge pain in the ass. So let me just do it again. So we'll turn it on. And when you're out on the trail, sometimes it'll come back on again and sometimes it won't. So you always want to, even though the batteries are crazy strong, you want to start every ride with a pair of freshly charged 100% batteries, because they work. The gimbal works the best when the batteries are the strongest. Okay, so here we go. We're working again. So we're going to want to tilt this up to the sky just a little bit. See that? And I hold it there for a second and it locks. So it will go to your will, and it'll lock there. But also the problem with this too is you kind of have to look down when you're riding, because sometimes you hit it and it thinks it's locked, and you really didn't want that to happen. So you're riding and this is like facing up at the bottom of your chin, which is never really an angle that I want. So this is the Rider M. Let's talk about the Evo SS. This gimbal is literally the star of our channel. We couldn't have a channel without this gimbal, in my opinion. The only thing that this gimbal has that's different than the other one is a different logo. And like I mentioned before, the buttons are in the same place, but they do 2 different things, which is mind-numbing. Before we start going into detail on this, I kind of just want to show you the beating that the Evo SS has taken. If you watch this channel, you've seen me crash quite a few times, and it mostly has been with this gimbal on. And I've always been able to get up and get going again with it, except for actually the very last time that I crashed with it, which happened to be in Cirrus. Sorry. Just doing something stupid, and I actually bent the metal.
Just gonna roll it.
Ah! I was facing the wrong way. Okay, so I just bent the metal back into place and went to test it out, and it still works. So I'm pretty happy with this gimbal as far as gimbals go. Now, all 3 of the gimbals that I'm talking about, and also the Karma, none of those are waterproof. I know that Feiyutech recently came out with something that's waterproof, so if any of you guys have that gimbal or know anything else about it, would love to hear about it in the comments below. Another thing that you can do with most of these gimbals is you can speed up or slow down the tracking on them, and what that does is it will help you to get through corners, I think, better. But then when your tracking is too fast, because you're taking the berm fast and the camera's keeping up with you, everything else starts to look robotic and it moves too fast and it looks kind of jerky. So I choose to keep this on basically the default mode, and just when I come through a corner, just like when everybody else comes through a corner, I'm sure you've noticed, the camera is still facing this way and my head's facing this way, so it just takes like a minute to catch up, and I think that's just something that we all deal with. I also want to talk about how to place your harness to have your GoPro in the best position for mountain bike riding. Sometimes when you're doing downhill, you have to face the camera down. You know, this flattens everything out, as everybody knows. So if you face it down a little bit, your viewers can see a little bit better what you're going over. And you'll see the problem here is that when you're really going down something, your chest will be like this. So your camera will end up needing to be in the position that your gimbal pretty much hates, and you'll never be able to get that shot right. At least I haven't been able to. So that's the limitation. There's a lot of limitations with the gimbals. That's one of the annoying ones. Keep the harness down here. You want to put your pack on over the elastic on the harness to reinforce the strength of it. I know GoPro, actually Camelback is coming out with a chest protector piece to put your GoPro in. I did fall one time with this one, and it was, I think, the closest I ever came to cracking a rib with this. I came down on it pretty hard, and that was when I actually bent the metal here. So I think I might get that chest protector, which probably would take care of a lot of stability issues for me, and maybe a lot of other female riders, because your natural inclination is to want to have this up here, out of the way of what's going on here, especially if you're short like I am, because my bars legitimately are right here. So if I'm riding over technical stuff and this is down here, it's just, you know, it's not ideal, and I have to be careful what's going on with the camera at the same time that I'm trying to not like bust my ass. So I'm excited to see what the chest guard from Camelback brings, and that would be my recommendation for placement. So Fishy and I would like to just recommend that you go out and you get something and you start making stabilized videos. Right, Fish?
Did you just fall? Did you just fall?
Yeah.
Okay. What'd you do? Come off of that?
Yeah.
First I thought we were trying to take a video. Did you go over your handlebars?
Yeah, I gotta get the chest protector for...
You went over your handlebars.
Oh, fuck. My
Okay.
ankle again.